Good evening, everyone. Hold on. Got to get this banner off of here. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Happy Monday night. We're halfway through July, believe it or not. We are already halfway through July. Which is crazy because that means we're closer now to the end of this year than we are to the beginning of this year, even though in my mind it's only like March or April. In reality, it's almost August. Totally. How's everybody doing today? Hope you are well. Awesome. Good to hear that you're doing great, Lisa. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are continuing on in our series that we introduced uh, yesterday with Helping Hands. Hey, close to your vacation in Florida. Let me know if you come super far south. You make it all the way down here, down to Southwest Florida. But that sounds awesome. We like vacation. I don't get enough of it, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So we're going to talk today because we wanted to talk through kind of three different groups of people or three different situations in which you need to overcome crises and stressful situations and different things like that. And so we're starting with today us. Okay, so we're starting with us. And how do we process through crises and stressful situations quickly for a couple reasons. One, for our personal growth. Two, so we can help people around us quicker. Okay, so it's not just Palm Bay. I actually have no idea where that is. I'm supposed to know everything in Florida when you live here, but I really don't know where that is. Yeah, so we want to first of all help ourselves through it, get through things as quickly as possible, not because we're trying to rush our way through life and just kind of run away from things, but because we just want to grow. We don't want to live in crisis. We don't want to live in stressful situations. We want to make sure we are using the tools and resources we need to get ourselves out of those situations. And then more importantly, usually if there's a stressful situation happening to you, it is impacting people around you. So, for example, if you have a debt situation, that doesn't just impact you, that impacts your family members. That impacts maybe the stress that you have at work. And so maybe how you treat other people. When you deal with a loss of a loved one, that doesn't just impact you, that impacts people around you. So can you have the tools that you need in your tool belt to handle these situations of grief, these situations of just kind of being overwhelmed, a crisis, stressful situation, in that you can be the calm voice in the room, even if you're hurting, even if not everything feels great on the inside, even if emotionally you're still processing, can you do so in a healthy way and in a way where you can lead other people through, as opposed to just it knocks you out, it knocks everybody out, and you're not there. You're not there to be the leader that you might need to be in certain situations. And again, this isn't saying that we shouldn't have sorrow, we shouldn't have grief, we shouldn't have pain. Those are all very real things and very true emotions. So we're not trying to put any of those down. But we just want to make sure that we're building into ourselves the healthiest of habits that we know of, to prepare in advance as best we can for those things. So what I wanted to do is I did a little bit of research. I didn't have a ton of time, but I got a little bit of research done today on what some of the most overwhelming, stressful, and um, just kind of clouds that we put over ourselves. And so this is kind of going, not so much about the external stressors, okay? Because it's much more about the internal stressors. And so, if you guys want to know a little bit more about any of these, I'm going to kind of run through them pretty fast. But and I pulled a couple of sources for some of this stuff too. And again, I didn't have time to do a lot, but if you just kind of want to know the basics of where this comes from, my hope is that at least a couple of these will connect with you, so you can say, "Hey, guess what? I'm not strange. I'm not alone in this. Like other people feel this way." And and I'll chime in with some of my personal weaknesses in some of these areas as well. But these are 8 of the most common stressors and internal things that people feel. So one is overwhelming emotions, right? This idea that high levels of stress, high levels of anxiety, it can lead you to feel overwhelmed, and it really hurts your decision making and your coping mechanisms. And so, if you've ever had this thing where it's like kind of like you know there's an emotion, and then you kind of like, okay, I think I've handled, and then it just kind of comes in waves, right? And like each wave kind of drives you deeper and deeper into this, whatever thought process it is in those areas. So we want to make sure that obviously if we're having overwhelming emotions, we have a way to process those and handle those. And we're going to get to the process, don't worry. This is going to start out really kind of like discouraging, but I'm not going to leave you in a discouraging mindset. Okay, the second thing is lack of self compassion. Um, and so self compassion is crucial for emotional resilience. You need to realize that, look, you're not perfect. You're going to have your ups and downs. And if you don't realize that and you don't have some compassion on yourself, we talked about being grace filled to other people in crisis situations, it's the same concept here. You need to be grace filled to yourself and say, look, I just underwent a major trauma, a major stressor, something majorly overwhelming in me, and it's okay that I feel that way. If not, if you just deny it, it's like, or you were like, I'm a bad person because I'm stressed out, or I'm bad. Like that's not going to get you to a solution. You're just kind of you're punishing yourself because it's the only way that you know how to handle it. The third area that people struggle with is unclear needs. So, in The Worry Cure, Seven Steps to Stop Worry from Stopping You, the author states that people often struggle to identify their needs in a crisis, which can lead to ineffective problem solving and increased stress. So a lot of times, and we talked about this yesterday too, right? Of we want to assess needs. This is part of our process, and so a lot of times you don't know what you need, and what you think you need is not the actual thing that you need. And so just want to kind of encourage you in these areas, like take that time to get that clarity that you need. And we're gonna dive into like some specific ways. The third or the fourth thing is isolation, and I'm gonna say right here that this is one of the things that I naturally tend towards. When I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, I tend to just want isolation. I tend to not want to be around other people. I tend to be very grumpy around other people. I tend to I tend to just kind of have a short trigger, and the best thing for me to generally want to be is alone. Now, it's one thing to say I want to be alone for a few minutes to gather my thoughts, to pray, to do those things, but left to my own devices, I would seek isolation. I would seek preferentially to be completely away from other people, and that in the end ends up being really a major impact to your mental health, and then it's going to make you feel lonely, and it's going to make you feel alone, like beyond, because you're going to say like, oh, I've isolated myself, but no one's reached out to me. But even if someone reached out to me, I still wouldn't want to pick up the phone. I still wouldn't want to respond to the text, right? So it's like it just becomes this hole that you dig, and you just find the excuses to do it. The next area is limited resources. Okay, this is one of the big stressors we deal with on this channel, for example, is just people who are in debt, people who have low income streams. And when you have that, that is just a major stressor, and left unchecked can become just a major crisis inducer into your life. And so what we want to think about is obviously how to increase our resources ahead of time, so that way when problems happen, we know how to handle it. But the fact is, some people are dealing with problems right now, and they have very limited resources for what to do with it. So, and you might think about things, you might say, well, that's not me, but maybe it is you. Because maybe you really want to get fit, but you don't know how, and you don't have the money or the time or the flexibility in your life to go hire a trainer who will do that. Maybe you want to start a YouTube channel, but you, again, haven't left yourself the margin or the time to start developing that so you can work on building an income stream. And so a lot of times, or maybe you're just dealing with something where you have, you know, some mental health concerns, or that you have a need for counseling, But you just don't financially have the resources to do it, or you just don't even know where to start looking. You don't know how to research what a good counselor is. Now, the good thing is with a lot of research things, YouTube and Google has made the world a lot easier, but still, a lot of people just get overwhelmed at that thought process because they're just limited, right? And so a lot of times it's not about your resources, it's about your resourcefulness and how can you take what you do have accessible to you and do that. All right, the sixth area, and this is another one of my weaker areas of the ones we're going to talk about today, is negative thought patterns, negative self-talk. Tend to kind of people. I don't know if you've run into people who are always in the end of the world is near, the end is near, like everything they tie into something, world ending, apocalyptic, life ending. So there's that. There's also just self doubt. There is just I'm so stupid. Why would I do such a thing? These are areas that my mentally, again, if I leave it unchecked, I will go in those directions. I just have this propensity to think the worst of myself and the worst of other people. And so left unchecked without really having grace built in, and without really having a true voice pouring into me, that's the direction that I will tend to go. All right. Number 7 is this. This is a tough one. This probably impacts all of us in some way or another, but some people this impacts deeply, which is previous trauma, previous abuse, previous hurt. Um, and in let's see, how do we want to say it? I always tread delicately here because um, there's a lot of things, and I'm not a licensed counselor, um, or any of those things, and I have some pretty major hurts in my past, and when a crisis happens or a stressful situation happens, often your thought process will tend to go back to those things, and you might blame yourself. You might say it's punishment. Sometimes the trauma is just a poor decision you made in the past. If I had just bought Bitcoin, right, I wouldn't be in this financial problem. And so you beat yourself up, and the trauma there is that. But sometimes we're dealing with severe emotional, mental, physical abuse, dealing with betrayal, from loved ones, from family, from spouses. Like this is deep stuff and this is heavy stuff. And this previous trauma, if you have it in you and you haven't figured out how to fully process it in a healthy way, it will just continue to have a leash on you for the rest of your life. And we don't want that. We want freedom, right? So that's the whole point of this channel, is to bring you to freedom in every area of your life. We want you to be rich in every area of your life and free in every area of your life. And if your past has a hold on you, then you're not free in that area. So again, I'm not a counselor in that sense of the word. I mean, I've heard many people's stories over the years, but my default always is, if it's something that I know is beyond just general advice and different things, is I'm always quick to refer people to counseling. And I know people don't like that. They don't like to hear counseling because they think it means they're a failure. Um, this goes back to my negative thought patterns, right? But essentially, we're all failures, right? We've all messed up. We all have mistakes, and a lot of times we've had things done to us that weren't our fault. And you just look back and you might want to blame yourself, but if you really take an honest look, there's nothing you did wrong. The whole premise of the book of Job is that Job didn't do anything wrong that caused all of the suffering that he had to undergo, all the trauma that he experienced. All his kids died. He lost, so much of his possessions, and all this. And he's like, I didn't even do anything wrong, right? But that was real trauma. That's real. And so sometimes it's hardest because you don't even know who to blame. But trauma can be a real thing that you need to sometimes really face up to and admit. So last is external pressures. Okay, and this can come from a lot of different places, but um, external pressures is when the voices outside of us are telling us more and dictating how we live our life rather than the voices inside of us. Now, here's the thing. We want the voices inside of us to not be negative, not be, this idea of just talking ourselves down and constantly beating ourselves up. But we do want our positive, growth minded, growth oriented internal voice. If you're a follower of Jesus, the Holy Spirit, right? If you're not, just like your conscience, your morality, your ethics, you want those things to be dictating how you live, not your mom, your dad, your kids, your boss, your coworkers, your friends, right? All these external pressures. And it's I always find it really interesting. They talk about peer pressure all the time through like middle school and high school, and then you never hear about it again. I'm going to tell you that social and societal pressure is some of the biggest killers of adults. Just hey, just go out drinking with us. Just I you only had a couple drinks. It's okay to drive home. All these pressures, all these words, and when you research them, like there's not truth there, but people believe it. So these are 8 different areas. There's probably other stress triggers, but yeah. So absolutely, like let me know if you resonate with any of these more than others. Like I said, for me, isolation and negative thought patterns is definitely the route that I tend to go. And if you want some resources on any of these, please let me know. Just shoot me an email. I can send you some of the sources that you can start doing some research on your own. I'm sure there's many books and research papers on all these different things. But you can shoot me an email at asideofhustlechannel@gmail.com. Make sure the word channel is in there. A Side of Hustle channel. Otherwise, you'll be emailing some other random person who will have no idea how to help you. Um, so how do we overcome this, right? Because I don't want to leave you with negativity. How do we overcome this? Um, well, we're going to take the same process that we did yesterday that I laid out for you, the lead process. Yeah, Lisa, absolutely. Like it can be me someday. Like this whole idea. Like no, yeah, we can all get caught up into any one of these, and this idea that we're better than anyone else for sure. Peer pressure is there no matter your age. Absolutely, and I don't understand at all why people don't tend to talk about it, but it is so huge. I mean, you might think, okay, well, high school it's done or college it's done, but no, like if when you're working up the corporate ladder, when you're just in social media world, all those things, constantly, consistently does that. All right. So how do we do this? Well, let me refresh for you in case you don't remember. I'm going to refresh for you our lead process that we laid out last night. I'm going to do it here. I typed it up at the beginning so I could just do it quickly here, so I don't have to type it. Listen actively. Okay. Listen actively. Empathize sincerely. Assess needs. Deliver solutions and resources. Okay. So we're going to take a couple of these. One that's not necessarily my weakness and one that is kind of my weakness, just to kind of show you maybe how you could process through this using our lead process. And so, first of all, it's listen actively now to yourself, right? Because you're the person who's undergoing crisis right now. You're the person who's facing this situation. So let's say it's a small stressor, it doesn't matter. Sure, getting tired, I guess. Let's say it's a small stressor. Let's say it's a medium stressor. Let's say it's something that you have no control over. You know, this all stemmed out of the shooting at the Trump rally that happened on Saturday. But it's not really about that. It could be anything. It could be financial stress. It could be you didn't hit your delivery goal for the day. Your sales for your business are down. Stressor could be any one of these things. And so what does it lead you to? Well, we're going to take on first overwhelming emotions. Okay, so if you're one of my overwhelming emotions people, how do you, and we'll put this back up, how do you listen actively to yourself? Well, you need to take a moment, sit quietly, and then figure out what those emotions are, right? You would maybe sit down and say, okay, I got anxiety, I have fear, um, I'm overwhelmed. Like, take some time for that mental soup of emotions that is kind of overwhelming you and break it down. Say, boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm stuck. These are the areas. Okay, and just be real with yourself. Like, there's no wrong answer to this. There's no wrong answer to which emotion or emotions are overwhelming you. But sometimes, if you don't know what they all are, you can't really start to pinpoint and work on fixing what they are. Okay, so then what do you do next? Well, empathize sincerely with yourself, right? So tell yourself, it's okay that I'm overwhelmed, right? It's okay is one of the best phrases that you can use through all crisis situations, whether you're talking to yourself or talking to other people. It's okay that you're overwhelmed. It's okay that you're sad. It's okay that you're grieving. It's okay that you're angry. It's okay that you're frustrated. It's okay that you're all of these things. Now, we don't want to stay there forever, but it's okay that you're there now, and be empathetic just like you would to someone else. You would say, hey, look, I totally understand, you just lost a loved one. I know that is must be so difficult on you. And so talk the same way to yourself. Say, you know what, I know you're frustrated that you didn't hit your delivery goal for the day. Like, that's understandable. You worked hard, you were motivated, you provided great customer service, you were out there delivering, you went out in the rain, you know, like, it certainly seems viable for you to feel discouraged and frustrated. Like, it's okay. Um, and you know what? You're probably not the only person who's going home discouraged and frustrated about how deliveries went. Or, let's just say, you got a business, right? You're selling on Amazon and you're all set up and you think you have the perfect setup for Prime Day, and your sales don't just flatline for Prime Day, they go down. And instead of having the best day of your year so far, you have the worst day of your year, and you're feeling angry and you're feeling maybe betrayed because the research you did and or the people that you talked to gave you bad information. And, like, tell yourself, it's okay. You know what? I put a lot of work and effort into this and it didn't pan out, and it's okay to be frustrated. And so we need to empathize sincerely with ourselves. Like, tell yourself, it's okay. That's the key phrase that you're going to use here. Um, and again, it's it's not saying it's okay to then treat people poorly. It's not. This is nothing external, but on the internal side, it is okay. It is okay to be frustrated, disgusted. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to mourn. It's okay to feel like there's a piece missing from your heart, your soul, and your life. It's okay. Okay, because if you don't come to grips with the fact that it's okay, you're not going to be able to empathize with yourself. Sorry, I'm just putting it up on the screen now. Empathize sincerely with yourself. Okay. Now, once you've listened actively and empathize sincerely, now those first, that's like the setup, right? So I like volleyball, right? So here's that, the first is the bump. Listen actively to yourself. Just trying to keep the ball in the air. Second is the set. Okay, you're setting yourself up. Why? Because now we want to set a trajectory for ourselves that we are winning and not getting stuck here. Okay, now saying winning and not getting stuck doesn't mean that everything's going to be fixed like that. Okay, this is not talking about instantaneous results. And with this idea, we're talking about a direction, not perfection. Okay, and we're talking about progress, not a finish line. Okay, we're talking about progress here, that we're making progress, not that we're going to just cross the finish line. Okay, I've listened to myself and I've empathized with myself, now everything's better. No, but we want to move forward. And so how do we move forward? Well, we need to assess our needs. So in this area of like overwhelming emotions, um, then it might be time to put some action steps into place. Like, what are things that you need to do? Do you need to take a break? Do you need to go do something? Do you need to go read the Bible? Do you need to just turn the app off? Do you need to give yourself a vacation day the next day? Do you need to go work on a different side hustle for a day? Do you need to research something? Do you need to go watch some videos and learn? Right? But you want to figure out what it needs to be. Now, let's say you're just talking about something a lot harder. Do you need to go talk with a friend? Do you need to go talk with a counselor? Do you need to go talk with a pastor? Do you need to go talk with someone trusted? Do you need to go talk with someone anonymous? I don't know. But you want to really assess and say, okay, and I would be more specific than just that. I would just say something along the lines of, I'm going to write this down. Okay. So let's give me a, a couple of emotions that maybe you tend to feel. And I want to show you, or I'll write a couple down. So if you've got something, just jot down like what's an emotion that you feel sometimes. You're like, I feel, sometimes when I get overwhelmed, this is how I feel. So for me, frustrated is one of mine. So I'm going to write that down. Okay, angry. I can take one more here because I want to show you how I would do this. So if you got one more, Lisa, I don't know if anybody else is on at the moment. Okay, satisfied. Okay. So that's interesting, right? Because sometimes we think of overwhelming emotions as being all negative. It doesn't necessarily have to be. Um, but satisfaction can be like, it can be good. Like, I'm satisfied I did a good job, but then it can also hold us back, right? Because like, well, I did a good job. Now I don't have to work hard anymore, right? Like we kind of sell ourselves short. So what I would do, and I wrote these 3 down, so I'll kind of show you this process here, is then I would say, okay, so then what do I need to do to get my frustration out? So let's say for you, frustration is going to be best fixed, and because you should know yourself, and maybe you don't have perfect answers to all these things, but let's say frustration is going to be tied to physical activity / exercise, right? Like maybe that's for you. Okay. So physical activity and exercise. So I would tie this frustration. Now, say for anger, let's say for you, your solution to anger is thankfulness, right? And giving / I'll call it giving, serving. So when you get angry, if you start practicing thankfulness, you give and serve. That's kind of your diagnosis. This is assessing your needs. This is what I need. I need to find ways to be thankful. I need to find ways to serve other people. When I'm frustrated, I need to have physical activity. I need to have exercise, right? And then let's say you're satisfied. And I don't know if this is exactly how you mean it, Lisa, but um, I'm going to say you're satisfied to the point of like now you're feeling lazy, right? Like I'm just overwhelmed. Like I've done a whole lot of work. I'm satisfied, but now like I have no motivation, right? Satisfied into this kind of this area of laziness. So then what I might need to do is I'm just going to say light a fire vision cast. Okay. So, and it can be whatever. This is off the top of my head. I'm not telling you that this is what you need to do. Okay. But for you, yeah, well, okay, satisfied that you completed your job. Okay, well, that's good too. And like that can be, I guess that can be overwhelming as well, with that. But so you can apply this, but here's just some basic ideas of maybe how you would assess needs. Okay, you're frustrated. So if you're frustrated, then you need to go to physical activity or exercise. If you're angry, you need to go to thankfulness, giving, and serving. If you're satisfied in the area of being lazy, you light a fire and vision cast. But if you're satisfied, you're overwhelmed with satisfaction for a job well done. So satisfied part 2, because I want to cover this. Maybe what you need to do is you need to celebrate, right? So you're satisfied that you completed your job and you're overwhelmed with this satisfaction and you just like, what do you want to do? Like celebrate. And so, or you could also put there, like call someone, celebrate or call someone. Okay. Just you celebrate, you call someone. Okay. So this is assessing your needs and saying, okay, when I'm hitting these blockades, these are tangible action steps that I can do. Okay. Now, finally, we get to the last part, which is deliver solutions and resources. Okay. I should say deliver, not delivery. Oh, well. Yeah. It's okay, Lisa. You know what? Like, it doesn't have to make sense to me as long as it makes sense to you. And then you can find the healthy ways to process. And again, this is just like a thing. Like for me, the overwhelming emotions most of the time isn't a big thing for me, but at any given time, an emotion can overwhelm me. So yeah, so mixed emotions about working, then worrying about another driver, but satisfied when I'm doing well. Guess it makes no sense, but that's okay because sometimes emotions don't make sense, and that's the great part of it. But if you can start to peel apart your layers in your life and say, like for some people, being frustrated, physical activity, exercise isn't going to do anything. That's just not a solution. So I'm just saying these are just like ideas that I have off the top of my head. So now we want to direct ourselves to resources. Okay, so you want to have then a practical way to apply these situations here. So you can just say, every time I'm frustrated, what I'm going to do, so then we're going to tie this to like a specific action step. So this is direct yourself to resources or solutions. You do so you're frustrated, you do a 5-minute prayer walk, right? That's a tangible action step. Okay. So it also kind of calms your mind. Okay. If you're angry, you're looking for thankfulness, giving, serving, you do a random act of kindness, right? Maybe you pay for someone's food in the drive-through, something like that. If you're satisfied to the point of laziness, you're going to watch a 5 to 10 minute inspirational video. Okay. And vision cast celebrate. Maybe it's going to be like specifically, you're going to either call a friend or do worship, praise, dance, right? So just trying to get tangibly to these things here. All right, this is how I want you to look at it. So frustrated, if you're frustrated with things, physical activity, exercise, that might be what you would do. And then you just determine, anytime I'm really frustrated, I'm going to just go for a 5-minute prayer walk. If I'm angry, with thankfulness, or I know my antidote to that is thankfulness, giving, and serving. And then I go out and I perform a random act of kindness if I don't know of someone that needs it right now. If I'm feeling satisfied and lazy, I'm going to light a fire. So I'm going to watch a 5 to 10 minute video. I'm just going to go put Gary Vee on my phone and just let him inspire me for 5 to 10 minutes to build that fire up. So, or I'm feeling satisfied because I did a job well done. So then I'm going to celebrate, and then maybe you're either going to call a friend or you're just going to do a worship and praise dance, right? So now you're tying some form of a tangible or at least a practical application to the area of need that you have assessed. And so this is how you do it. All right, so let's go through the same process here really quickly, and then we'll do what we're drinking. I left my drink in the other room, so I'm going to have to go get it real quick. But negative thought patterns. So this is me. So I'm going to kind of actually do this exercise for me because this is more right where I'm at. Okay, so how do I listen to myself when I'm getting into negative thought patterns? Well, I want to think about when the voice inside my head switches from positive to negative. Okay, when does the voice switch from positive to negative? And is it a slow switch? Is it a quick switch? Was it something that happened to me? Was it just a slow thing? So, like I've noticed the last 2 days, I've been old man grumpy. I was complaining about construction on the road last night. I was complaining about the format of the home run derby tonight. And I don't know what it is, right? But I just suddenly found myself complaining about random things. So, what is the reason? I don't know. But I am aware of the fact that some negative self-talk has started to creep in over the last 48 hours to me. Okay. So, um, so now I know, right? I'm listening to myself. I'm listening to that voice inside my head. What's the next thing that I'm gonna do? Well, I need to empathize sincerely with myself. I need to say, okay, look, my complaints about the home run derby are valid to me. My complaints about them running construction without telling people where they could exit off ahead of time, that's valid. Okay. But you know what's not valid? The fact that I can't control either of those things. So what is it? And that's where we're going to the assessing in a second here. But I'm saying, like, look, my complaints are valid. They're real. They're valid. I really feel that way. That's not something that's holding me back. But I can't control things by my negativity, at least not in a positive change sort of way. Um, you know, I have no say in how they run the All-Star game. What can I do? Go on Twitter, go make a rant on YouTube, and like 12 people will watch it? changing how they set up the signs for construction. I have no complaint. And in this case, I don't think those are the issues. I don't even know what the issue is yet, but um, that's where I'm at, right? So like I've done step one and I've done step two. I've done step one over the last couple of days, came to the realization. Step two, just did live with you, right? Like this is real. My complaints are real. My issues are real, but um, this these thoughts aren't they don't define who I am, and I can't let them define who I am. So now I am actively in the assess my needs. So I need to figure out what can challenge these thoughts, but in my particular case, I need to figure out what's causing these thoughts. Where are these thoughts coming from? And how am I going to get there personally? Well, it's going to be through prayer. It's going to be through reading the Bible. It's going to be taking some time of reflection so I can really pinpoint what is it that is going on with me. Because I can't get myself to the resources until I've assessed my needs, right? So this is where I'm stuck right now. And that's why I said this is a process. Now, if I come to you in 2 weeks and say I'm still stuck in the same thing, I still have no idea what my needs are and I haven't tried anything, then then what's the point, right? Then I just got stuck at I listen to myself and I empathize with myself, but then I'm not making any change. I'm just like, and woe is me. Horrible me. My life is horrible because they changed the home run derby and because construction happened on the road, right? But that's how some people live. They just live from one crisis to the next. And if they don't have a crisis, they'll invent one or they'll create one. They'll either invent one in their head or they'll create one in the real world. And so, but I'm in this point here. I got to assess my needs. I don't know what my need is. I don't know. I know something's broken, but I don't know what yet. So I need to figure out where did this come from? When did it start? I actually have a couple ideas of where it's coming from, but then I need to go and figure out. Then once I know, or even once I think I know, I'm going to start going down that road of saying, okay, what is it then? What can I do in response to this now that I've diagnosed where this has come from? So remember, we kind of talked about this like a doctor yesterday. It's like you don't want the doctor giving you a prescription when you show up before you've explained your symptoms, before he's looked you over. Okay. So this is the diagnosis phase. Okay. You're trying to assess your needs. You should be like, what do I need to fix and what's broken? Because I know for me, my negative thoughts don't live in me all the time, but they take over when there's a little gap, right? It's like when your screen door doesn't close, it's a Florida thing maybe. When your screen door doesn't close quite perfectly, then all sorts of critters and creatures can just find that little crack and get in your house. Frogs, lizards, salamanders, snakes, they don't need a big crack. Bugs, they just all they need is a little crack and they just wiggle their way in and through. Okay, I know that's how my negative thoughts are. So now I'm charged with finding out where that crack is, because if I don't find it, what's going to happen to the crack? It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what's going to happen to the animals that can go through the crack? Well, soon it won't just be an ant or a snake, it'll be a raccoon, or left unchecked, it'll be a bear, or it's going to be a huge animal coming in, and it will drastically impact my world for the negative. So that's what I want to do. And then whenever I figure out where this crack is, of course, then I want to direct myself to the resources. Now, sometimes you can be in the situation where your assessing and your resourcing kind of goes hand in hand. So, for example, me praying and reading the Bible to assess my need might also at the same time be the actual resources I need, depending on what's broken inside of me. So, yeah, too much anger can make you feel miserable. It can't even work like that. Understood. Yeah, and this is the thing, but some people live there. Some people live in anger, and their happiest place to be is behind the wheel of the car where they can just show their anger to the world and feel like they can exist with very little repercussions. So, anyway, that's kind of how this whole process goes. So what I'm going to do really quick, I'm going to leave the little background on and I'm going to go get my drink because I need to have my drink for what are you drinking? But you can type what you are drinking in the chat and I'll be right back with you momentarily. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. Sorry about that. I was so excited about what I was drinking tonight that I didn't actually get it ready. Always drinking water. So I have, so today was daddy daughter date day with my youngest. So our church gives out Chick-fil-A gift cards to all the regular attendees for their birthday. And so my daughter's had hers now for quite a few months. And today was the day that we went out. And so I took her, we did a bunch of stops. Went to the library, went to Chick-fil-A, went to Costco, went to Target, went to Publix, went to a whole bunch of different places. And but we did Chick-fil-A for lunch. And so I got sweet tea and lemonade mix. They call it a Sunjoy. Most of you know it as an Arnold Palmer, but I'm sure that's copyrighted, so that's why they can't use it at Chick-fil-A. By far one of my favorite drinks because it's got both sweet tea and lemonade in it. So yeah, I know it's not good for me, but this is party week in our house. So we're straight through. We have, well, yesterday was youth night at church, so that was like pizza and pasta. Tonight was home run derby, so we had a combination, basically a nacho bar. Nacho, homemade salsas, and all sorts of good stuff like that. Homemade cheese dip. It was delicious. Tomorrow is leftover pizza from church that wasn't finished last night, so we're gonna have that. The All-Star game. The next day we have a birthday in the family, and so that's a party day. And then Saturday, my son is going to one of the kids on his baseball team's birthday party. So we have like just straight through. It's like just straight party week. So this is not an eat healthy week. That maybe starts next week. So as we got. Oh, okay. Your son used to run youth group now. His roommate does. Awesome. Yeah. So I was a youth pastor for almost 10 years. 10 years as a youth pastor. Then I was lead pastor for about a year. And been a volunteer youth pastor, been a youth ministry volunteer. That's what I am currently right now. So there's not many roles in a church that I haven't played at some point in time or another, except like a repairman. Because I can't fix anything. So anyway, I don't know if anybody has any comments, but like this whole idea here is to help all of us to not get unstuck. And I believe it was Jordan Peterson who said the goal of, I think he was talking about men specifically. So he said the goal of a man is to be the one who is emotionally under control at his father's funeral. And so that's kind of a sombering thought, right? Like we don't like thinking about those things, but the goal of your life, not the goal, but you know what I'm saying, one of the goal of developing your personhood and your manhood is that on what is the saddest day of your life, or one of the saddest days of your life, that you are standing tall and standing firm and are representing your father in the best way possible. And so I've kind of always kind of kept that in mind. I know I'm not there yet. I know I'm not ready yet, but I've been growing in that way. And my mom died quite a few years ago now. And I know I was nowhere near the strongest person at that funeral. And so I am striving to be to the point that whenever it comes, I will be there. So I know it's a sombering thought, but this whole idea is, for me to get there, I can't keep getting caught up in these negative thought patterns. I can't get caught up in just any of these different things that we were talking about tonight. Because if I do, then that's just where I'm going to be. Like I can't isolate myself. I've got to push through those things. And so So this is the challenge to you. Not that you need to take on that challenge from Jordan Peterson. That's just one thing that I heard that has challenged me, that has stuck with me now for I think over a year that since I've heard that. So yeah, and it's like when you realize you don't realize who you are till crisis hits. Um, but I would say we all know crisis is going to hit. So why not work on defining who you're going to be, right? So coming out of the Trump rally, I know many of you have probably heard the story that the at least as far as I know, the one person in the crowd who died was a firefighter, and he was a father, and he died shielding his wife and his daughter from the bullets, right? And so this is somber. I know this isn't like hype you up, but he lived a hero as a firefighter, right? But then he died a hero. And there is just something that that as tragic as that situation is, in that moment of crisis, his character showed. And I hope that none of us are ever in that same situation that he is, but I know that all of us are going to face a crisis. Okay. I know every one of us is going to face a crisis. Some of you may be in one right now. But crisis can create character, but really what crisis does is it shows your character. And over the first 40 or so years of my life, every time a crisis came, it showed my character as someone who was weak, as someone who was not as dependent on God as he said he was. How's it going, Meow? You're coming in right now. I'm glad you're here. We're just kind of like a little somber, reflective thought, but it was a great day. It was Daddy Daughter Date Day, so it was a great day. But I just realized that every time a crisis showed up, the real me came out, and I didn't like who that was. And so I've just taken this mission on and say, look, I can't fix that. I can't fix the first 40, but the next 40, it's all for the taking. I mean, I hope I have 40. I don't need much more than 40 because it's been a long life. I'm going to double it. I think I'll be good with that. I'll take more if I get it, I guess. But, hopefully I have another 40. And I just want to be molding and shaping my life now. Like, yeah, there are some crisis things in my life right now, but there are also crises that I've been living with. And so it's like, you know what? It's not a crisis that's overwhelming, and I don't want to isolate myself anymore. So why not just take my life to the world? Take my life to YouTube. I'm going to show you guys every last little thing. You'd be pretty bored with 95% of it anyway. But I can take my life. I can take what I've learned, and I can share it with people. And I don't have to sit back and be silent. And I don't need to wait for an opportunity anymore. I think one of the big things that I was struggling with is I kept waiting for a new opportunity to come up, and it never came. It's like, you know what? I'm done waiting. I'm just going to make my opportunity. And that's what I would do. So anyway, that's kind of it for my thought. Yeah, teenagers can be nuts. Um, so they can be really awesome too. It's both. Yeah, just the little kids. See, and that's the thing. Like I'm always like, yeah, little kids. Yeah. If I have to change my language in like not like I'm cursing or anything like that, but if I have to like say different words because I can't talk like I normally talk, for them to understand me, that's like too little for me. Like we just made it a rule, like with all of our kids, we never baby talk to any of our kids. Like we just talk to them like we normally would. I mean, we have fun with them and their understanding of things, but they just heard us talking normally to them. Um, the first year of their life when they couldn't talk. So when they did talk, then they just started talking kind of like us. So yeah, no, I appreciate it, Lisa. Like it's good. So yeah, and he was a hero for sure, for sure. So Meow, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I don't have too much else. I am trying. Yes, I'm anti. anti-baby talk here. So we've been trying to put a little more out content-wise, and I'm trying kind of a different style. So I'm not doing this really for the views so much as I am doing it just to see if it's something. I don't know how to phrase it, how to do it. I want to see if it's something that works for you guys, because I don't care if this new style of video doesn't work for millions and millions of people. I just want to make sure it's working for you guys. So I did yesterday. I did, what was it? I'm just trying to see. It was a 10-minute video, how to serve in times of crisis. Okay, and then today I did 4 simple steps to supercharge your personality. Or sorry, not your personality. It's cut off, and my brain just filled in the rest. 4 simple steps to supercharge your personal growth this week. I am so done with the day. And so I put one of those out, and I'm going to try to put a couple more out, because I'm trying, like, I want to eventually get more of the ride-alongs, the tape delayed ride-alongs and stuff. But I want to produce stuff that I think we can slowly grow the channel with as well, by digging into some of the philosophy stuff, and just give you guys kind of like encouragements as we go throughout the week, of just little things that are in my mind, and just things that are kind of laying the foundation more so for what this channel is really all about on a much deeper level. And then kind of taking those, and then some of those will eventually become like a week-long series we'll do here. So I'm still trying to figure out which way to do it, but I think the way I want to do it is I want to kind of introduce something a very succinct way in a video, and then invite people from there to join us to these streams at night. And so this week was, again, just kind of different with everything that happened on Saturday. And I just figured, you know what, this is as good a time as any to talk about how do you handle crisis situations. Tomorrow we're going to talk specifically about handling a crisis situation with our family, with our kids, with our spouses, and for the, we can tangentially kind of deal with like parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, but it's really like the family that you're living with. So whoever it is that you're living with, like how do we handle that, and what does this look like? I'm kind of using the same process, of course, of going through those steps, right? Listen actively, empathize sincerely, assess your needs, and then direct to resources and solutions. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, you're supposed to teach God's word to kids talking like a baby. Exactly. Like, I just kind of have the feeling that when they were reading the scrolls and stuff back in the day, they weren't like, okay, kids, cover your ears, like, just like, it's the word of God. You hear it. There's some stuff in here that's not too pretty. You just gotta, but it's important to listen anyway. Anyway, I'm pretty tired tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out, whether you're watching live or on replay. If you haven't hit the like or subscribe button yet, would appreciate it 100%. If you do, I'll give you the watch hour thing, because everybody always wants to know about the watch hours. We are making some progress there. We are at 1868 watch hours. So that means we need 1,132 watch hours to get to the 3,000, with our goal of getting there by the end of September. So we'll be back here tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Meow. Guess we're the only ones who chimed in tonight, so maybe everybody else is watching Home Run Derby like I would normally be tonight, but it's good. Thank you all. Have a great night.